Cute. It's a bit colorless, but it's nice and peaceful. Oh my god! So, this game is a little bit hard to describe, but I feel like I haven't really seen anybody else talk about it, and to me, that proves that there is simply no justice in the world. The Devil Haunts Me is an absolutely free, top down 2D survival horror experience. The basic gameplay loop is to use the tools at your disposal each day to gather food, water, and firewood before your energy meter reaches zero. Sleeping will refill your health and energy, but will spend a good chunk of your resources, and if you go too long with any of your resources at zero, it's game over. Harder difficulties will reduce the number of days you can last without resources and add more ways to trigger permadeath, but you don't need to play on the harder levels to get the full experience. And whoo boy, is it an experience. The minimalist atmosphere and ambiance really build up this feeling of isolation and something I can only describe as a peaceful dread. Even before your first encounter with anything unnerving, you're just flooded with this sense of something being very wrong. And then slowly at first, but then faster and faster, you start finding things that increase that sense of dread while also increasing your curiosity for what else is out there. This is done entirely through an awesome level design that naturally guides you toward each objective without any directions actually being given. There's a balancing mechanic to everything you do in this game. For example, you can only carry one tool at a time, either the gun for hunting, the axe for gathering firewood, or the bucket for gathering water, and swapping between them can only be done by finding another item out in the world or returning all the way home. Each item also has a catch. For example, it takes 3 swings with the axe to cut down a tree, which amounts to 15 points off your energy bar. The gun and bucket only take 5 points to use, but you'll use some of that energy hunting down deer in order to gather their meat, and when you gather water, you have to carry it all the way back home to dump it in your well before it's added to your inventory. Each tool also has a secondary use. The bucket can be used to water certain plants, which will increase your maximum health. The gun and axe can be used to fend off certain enemies, and the wood you gather with the axe can be used to repair bridges, which offer faster travel between zones and access to previously closed off areas. Each item can also be upgraded by finding the higher tier versions of them out in the world, which causes the upgraded versions to appear in every other place that item spawns. Now, all of this is a pretty decent loop in and of itself, but it's not called The Devil Haunts Me for no reason. You see, every now and then as you explore the world, you'll start hearing this sound that's a bit like a distant plane. Sometimes, especially early on, it'll pass by harmlessly off in the distance, but sometime around the third day, it starts to mean you're about to be assaulted by the physical manifestation of sin itself, and the only way to protect yourself is to find a salt circle to hide in or attempt to fight him off. Personally, I don't recommend that second one, but hey, you're welcome to try if you like. Again, there's an awesome balance here in how the devil comes in to antagonize you. Sometimes the sound will fade in and it'll be several minutes before you even catch a glimpse of him, and even then he may or may not attack at all. Sometimes you'll go days at a time without a sign of him, and it ramps up your sense of foreboding as you wait for him to appear and ruin your day. The sound that signals his approach is so well calculated that a couple of times while playing the game, I actually heard an airplane pass off in the distance in real life and started to panic for a second. As you settle into a pattern, you'll start to open up more and more of the map and learn how to keep your resources on a net gain. For example, what I tended to do was go out and gather wood till I had about a third of my energy left, then hunt until my last 5 points of energy and use those last few points to gather water before the end of the day. Resources are finite and do not respawn, so you're going to want to branch out as much as possible and try to explore a little further out into the world each day. There are so many more rewards for exploring than resources, though. Along the way, you'll discover a really dark and tragic story of violence and guilt that unfolds naturally through environmental clues and images left behind. The story is told entirely in visuals. There's not a single line of text or word of dialogue to slow down the pace, and even though you can discover the story beats in basically any order, they're obscure enough and open to interpretation enough that you never end up spoiling anything for yourself or feeling like you jumped ahead. I'd actually like to take a second and just show you the moments leading up to one of my first discoveries that something wasn't quite right. And if it intrigues you, just know that this is only the first moment like this that this little game has to offer. See that? No bombastic sound cues or musical stings, just you in the woods with something. And that is what this game excels at: restraint. It's never overwhelming, it never attempts to frighten you with jump scares or spooky sounds. Everything is actually really understated and quiet. In fact, my first playthrough on this game, for the first 10 minutes, I was struggling to figure out why I felt so unsettled by it. I mean, this is just a little free pixel art game, and it still does horror better than almost any movie or video game I've seen or played in the past 5 years. And I really think that says a lot about the creativity and just general competence of the people who created it, as well as of the general quote unquote leaders of the industry. The Devil Haunts Me is completely free and will basically run on a graphing calculator as long as the screen is functional, so please do yourself a huge favor and check it out. It's exactly the kind of thing I want to see the gaming industry as a whole embrace. Perfect learning curve and an atmosphere so thick you could drink it. I can't express how highly I recommend checking this one out. Thanks for stopping by. I'll see you next time.